The Bible is more than a collection of ancient writings. It's the greatest story ever told, spanning creation, fall, redemption, and the ultimate restoration of all things. From the opening words of Genesis to the glorious finale of Revelation, each chapter weaves a tapestry of God's love, grace, and purpose for humanity. In this series, we journey through the foundational stories of Scripture: the formation of the world, the covenant with Abraham, the exodus of God's people, the wisdom of the prophets, the birth and mission of Jesus Christ, and the hope of eternal life. These timeless narratives reveal who God is, who we are, and the profound relationship between Creator and creation. Together, we'll uncover the threads that connect every story into one seamless masterpiece, the story of God's plan to rescue and renew the world. Let's step into the pages of history, faith, and hope, and discover how these ancient truths still speak powerfully today.
This is the story of Isaac, the son of Abraham. Isaac married Rebekah, but for many years she could not have children. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife, and the Lord answered his prayer. Soon, Rebekah was pregnant with twins. "Why is this happening to me?" She inquired of the Lord, and he said, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples will be separated from within you. One will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time came for her to give birth, the first twin was born red and hairy, and they named him Esau. His brother followed, grasping Esau's heel, and he was named Jacob. Esau grew up to be a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man who stayed among the tents. Isaac loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Jacob and Esau, the twin sons of Isaac, present a striking contrast, both in character and in life. This unlikeness was foretold by the angel of God before their birth. When in answer to Rebekah's troubled prayer, he declared that two sons would be given her, he opened to her their future history, that each would become the head of a mighty nation. One day, Jacob was cooking stew when Esau came in from the fields, famished. "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm starving." "First, sell me your birthright." "Look, I'm about to die. What good is a birthright to me? Swear to me first." So Esau swore an oath, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew. Esau ate, drank, and left, showing contempt for his birthright. The promises made to Abraham and confirmed to his son were held by Isaac and Rebekah as the great object of their desires and hopes. With these promises, Esau and Jacob were familiar. They were taught to regard the birthright as a matter of great importance, for it included not only an inheritance of worldly wealth, but spiritual preeminence. He who received it was to be the priest of his family, and in the line of his posterity, the Redeemer of the world would come. Jacob had learned from his mother of the divine intimation that the birthright should fall to him, and he was filled with an unspeakable desire for the privileges which it would confer. It was not the possession of his father's wealth that he craved. The spiritual birthright was the object of his longing. To commune with God, as did righteous Abraham, to offer the sacrifice of atonement for his family, to be the progenitor of the chosen people and of the promised Messiah. This is what he desired. A famine struck the land, and Isaac went to Gerar. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land I tell you about. I will bless you and give your descendants this land, fulfilling the oath I swore to your father, Abraham." Isaac stayed in Gerar, but told the men there that Rebekah was his sister, fearing they might kill him because of her beauty. One day, King Abimelech saw Isaac caressing Rebekah and confronted him. "She is your wife. Why did you say she was your sister?" "I thought I might be killed because of her," said Jacob. "What have you done? One of my men might have taken your wife, bringing guilt upon us." Abimelech ordered his people not to harm Isaac or Rebekah. Isaac prospered greatly in the land, reopening wells his father had dug and digging new ones. Despite conflict over the wells, Isaac made a peace treaty with Abimelech. When Isaac was old and blind, he called Esau. "My son, I am old, and do not know the day of my death. Take your weapons and hunt game for me. Prepare a meal so I may bless you before I die." Rebekah overheard and devised a plan for Jacob to receive the blessing instead. "Jacob, bring me 2 young goats. I will prepare a meal, and you will take it to your father, pretending to be Esau. But my brother is hairy, and I have smooth skin. What if father touches me? I will bring a curse upon myself, not a blessing. Let the curse fall on me. Just do as I say." Jacob brought the meal to Isaac, wearing goatskins on his hands and neck. "Who are you, my son?" "I am Esau, your firstborn. Eat and bless me." Though suspicious, Isaac ate and blessed Jacob, passing on the covenantal blessings. "May nations serve you, and may you rule over your brothers." Esau returned and discovered the deception. Furious, he vowed to kill Jacob. "After father's death, I will kill my brother." Rebekah warned Jacob to flee to her brother Laban in Haran. Because of his indifference to the divine blessings and requirements, Esau is called in Scripture a profane person. He represents those who lightly value the redemption purchased for them by Christ, and are ready to sacrifice their heirship to heaven for the perishable things of earth. Multitudes live for the present, with no thought or care for the future. Like Esau, they cry, "Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die." On his journey, Jacob stopped for the night. He used a stone for a pillow and had a dream. He saw a ladder reaching to heaven, with angels ascending and descending on it. The Lord stood above and said, "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham and Isaac. I will give you and your descendants this land. Your offspring will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go." Jacob awoke, terrified. "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was unaware. This is the house of God, the gate of heaven." He set up the stone as a pillar and named the place Bethel. Jacob vowed, "If God will be with me and provide for me, then he will be my God, and I will give him 1/10 of all I have." In the vision, the plan of redemption was presented to Jacob, not fully, but in such parts as were essential to him at that time. The mystic ladder revealed to him in his dream was the same to which Christ referred in his conversation with Nathanael. Said he, "Ye shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man." John 1:51. Up to the time of man's rebellion against the government of God, there had been free communion between God and man. But the sin of Adam and Eve separated earth from heaven, so that man could not have communion with his Maker. Yet the world was not left in solitary hopelessness. The ladder represents Jesus, the appointed medium of communication. And so Jacob continued his journey, carrying with him the promise of God. So Jacob moved on and came to the land of the eastern people. He saw in the field a well with 3 flocks of sheep lying beside it, because the flocks were watered from that well. Jacob sees the shepherds and asks them, "My brothers, where are you from?" "We are from Haran." "Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor?" "Yes, we know him." "Is he well?" "He is well." "Look, his daughter Rachel is coming with the sheep." When Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of his uncle Laban, and the sheep of his uncle Laban, he went over and rolled the stone off the mouth of the well and watered the sheep of his uncle Laban. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep loudly. "Who are you?" asks Rachel. "I am Jacob, your father's relative, the son of Rebekah." Rachel runs to tell her father, Laban, and he welcomes Jacob. Though he came portionless and unattended, a few weeks showed the worth of his diligence and skill, and he was urged to tarry. After a month of living with Laban, Jacob and Laban speak. "Just because you are my relative, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be? I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter, Rachel." In early times, custom required the bridegroom, before the ratification of a marriage engagement, to pay a sum of money or its equivalent in other property, according to his circumstances, to the father of his wife. This was regarded as a safeguard to the marriage relation. Fathers did not think it safe to trust the happiness of their daughters to men who had not made provision for the support of a family. If they had not sufficient thrift and energy to manage business and acquire cattle or lands, it was feared that their life would prove worthless. But provision was made to test those who had nothing to pay for a wife. They were permitted to labor for the father whose daughter they loved, the length of time being regulated by the value of the dowry required. The ancient custom, though sometimes abused, was productive of good results. When the suitor was required to render service to secure his bride, a hasty marriage was prevented, and there was opportunity to test the depth of his affections. In our time, many evils result from pursuing an opposite course. It is often the case that persons before marriage have little opportunity to become acquainted with each other's habits and disposition, and they are virtually strangers when they unite their interests at the altar. It is better that I give her to you than to another man. Stay with me. So Jacob works 7 years, which seemed like only a few days because of his love for Rachel. Then Jacob says to Laban, "Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled." Laban prepares a feast, but deceives Jacob by giving him Leah instead of Rachel. The next morning Jacob says, "What is this you have done to me? Did I not serve you for Rachel? Why have you deceived me? It is not our custom to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill Leah's week, and I will also give you Rachel in exchange for another 7 years of service." So Jacob works another 7 years and marries Rachel. Jacob continues having children. Leah bears him sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Rachel, frustrated, gives her maid Bilhah to Jacob, and Bilhah bears Dan and Naphtali. Leah also gives her maid Zilpah to Jacob, who bears Gad and Asher. God has blessed Leah with more children, Issachar and Zebulun. Finally, Rachel bears a son named Joseph. "God has taken away my disgrace," said Rachel. After Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way so that I can go home to my own country. Let me take my wives and my children, whom I have acquired by working for you. Then I'll depart, because you know how hard I've worked for you." But Laban said to him, "If I have found favor in your sight, please stay here, for I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me on account of you." He added, "Just name your wages. I'll pay whatever you want." Jacob said, "Do not give me anything. Let me pass through your flocks today and remove all the speckled and spotted sheep and goats. They shall be my wages." God blesses Jacob, and his flocks increase greatly. Laban's sons grow envious. Jacob heard that Laban's sons were complaining. "Jacob has taken everything that belonged to our father. He has gotten rich at our father's expense." When Jacob saw the look on Laban's face, he could tell his attitude toward him had changed. Then the Lord said to Jacob, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives. I will be with you." While Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole the household idols that belonged to her father. Jacob also deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was leaving. He left with all he owned. He quickly crossed the Euphrates River and headed for the hill country of Gilead. 3 days later, Laban discovered Jacob had left. So he took his relatives with him and pursued Jacob for 7 days. He caught up with him in the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream at night and warned him, "Be careful that you neither bless nor curse Jacob." Laban overtook Jacob, and when Jacob pitched his tent in the hill country of Gilead, Laban and his relatives set up camp there too. "What have you done?" Laban demanded of Jacob. "You've deceived me. Now I understand that you have gone away because you longed desperately for your father's house. Yet why did you steal my gods?" "I left secretly because I was afraid," he replied. "I thought you might take your daughters away from me by force. Whoever has taken your gods will be put to death. Identify whatever is yours and take it." Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. Now Rachel had taken the idols and put them inside her camel's saddle and sat on them. Laban searched the whole tent, but did not find them. Rachel has said to her father, "Don't be angry, my lord. I cannot stand up in your presence because I am having my period." So he searched thoroughly, but did not find the idols. Jacob became angry and argued with Laban. "What did I do wrong?" he demanded. "What sin of mine prompted you to chase after me in hot pursuit? This was my lot for 20 years in your house. I worked like a slave for you, 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flocks. But you changed my wages 10 times. So now, come, let's make a formal agreement, you and I, and it will be proof that we have made peace." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a memorial pillar. Laban said, "This pile of stones is a witness of our agreement today. May the Lord watch between us when we are out of sight of one another." Early in the morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters goodbye. Then Laban left and returned home. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he exclaimed, "This is the camp of God." So he named that place Mahanaim. And so, Jacob's journey continues, shaped by trials, blessings, and the faithfulness of God, who fulfills his promises through the generations. Jacob, traveling with his family and possessions, is returning to Canaan after years in Haran. But fear grips him as he recalls the enmity with his brother, Esau, whom he deceived years earlier. Though Jacob had left Paddan Aram in obedience to the divine direction, it was not without many misgivings that he retraced the road which he had trodden as a fugitive 20 years before. His sin in the deception of his father was ever before him. He knew that his long exile was the direct result of that sin, and he pondered over these things day and night, the reproaches of an accusing conscience making his journey very sad. As he drew nearer his journey's end, the thought of Esau brought many a troubled foreboding. Again, the Lord granted Jacob a token of the divine care. As he traveled southward from Mount Gilead, 2 hosts of heavenly angels seemed to encompass him behind and before, advancing with his company, as if for their protection. Jacob prays, "O God of my father Abraham and my father Isaac, you told me to return to my homeland, and you promised to deal kindly with me. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him." Yet Jacob felt that he had something to do to secure his own safety. He therefore dispatched messengers with a conciliatory greeting to his brother. He instructed them as to the exact words in which they were to address Esau. Jacob told the servants they were sent to "my lord Esau." When brought before him, they were to refer to their master as "thy servant Jacob," and to remove the fear that he was returning a destitute wanderer to claim the paternal inheritance. Jacob sends messengers ahead with gifts for Esau, flocks and herds, hoping to appease his brother. They had now reached the river Jabbok, and as night came on, Jacob sent his family across the ford of the river, while he alone remained behind. He had decided to spend the night in prayer, and he desired to be alone with God. It was in a lonely, mountainous region, the haunt of wild beasts and the lurking place of robbers and murderers. Solitary and unprotected, Jacob bowed in deep distress upon the earth. Suddenly, a strong hand was laid upon him. He thought that an enemy was seeking his life, and he endeavored to wrest himself from the grasp of his assailant. In the darkness, the 2 struggled for the mastery. The struggle continued until near the break of day, when the stranger placed his finger upon Jacob's thigh, and he was crippled instantly. The patriarch now discerned the character of his antagonist. He knew that he had been in conflict with a heavenly messenger, and this was why his almost superhuman effort had not gained the victory. It was Christ, the angel of the covenant, who had revealed himself to Jacob. The patriarch was now disabled and suffering the keenest pain, but he would not loosen his hold. All penitent and broken, he clung to the angel. He wept and made supplication, pleading for a blessing. He must have the assurance that his sin was pardoned. The angel tried to release himself. He urged, "Let me go, for the day breaketh." But Jacob answered, "I will not let thee go, except thou bless me." Had this been a boastful, presumptuous confidence, Jacob would have been instantly destroyed. But he confessed his unworthiness and trusted in the faithfulness of God. Through humiliation, repentance, and self-surrender, this sinful, erring mortal prevailed with the majesty of heaven. Jacob had received the blessing for which his soul had longed. His sin as a supplanter and deceiver had been pardoned. Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and humans and have prevailed. Jacob names the place Peniel, saying, I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been spared. Satan leads many to believe that God will overlook their unfaithfulness in the minor affairs of life. But the Lord shows in his dealing with Jacob that he can in no wise sanction or tolerate evil. All who endeavor to excuse or conceal their sins and permit them to remain upon the books of heaven, unconfessed and unforgiven, will be overcome by Satan. The next day, Jacob sees Esau approaching with 400 men. Jacob bows to the ground 7 times as Esau comes closer. Esau runs to Jacob and embraces him. The brothers weep together, and Jacob offers his gifts. Please accept these gifts, for seeing your face is like seeing the face of God, now that you have received me kindly. I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have said, Esau. No, please take them. It is my blessing to give them to you. Esau accepts the gifts, and the brothers part ways peacefully. Jacob and his family journey to Shechem, where they purchase land and settle. But tragedy strikes when Shechem, the son of Hamor, defiles Dinah, Jacob's daughter. My son Shechem loves Dinah, said Hamor. Let us arrange for her to marry him. Let our families intermarry and share the land. Simeon and Levi speaking privately. We cannot let this outrage stand. Jacob's sons deceitfully agree to the marriage on the condition that all the men of Shechem are circumcised. While the men recover, Simeon and Levi attack the city, killing all the males and rescuing Dinah. You have brought trouble on me by making me odious to the inhabitants of the land, said Jacob. They may unite against us and destroy us. Should our sister be treated like a prostitute? Said Simeon and Levi. The treacherous cruelty of Simeon and Levi was not unprovoked, yet in their course toward the Shechemites, they committed a grievous sin. But the grief and abhorrence with which he regarded their bloody deed is shown by the words in which, nearly 50 years later, he referred to it as he lay upon his deathbed in Egypt. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. Get rid of the foreign gods among you, said Jacob. Purify yourselves and change your clothes. We are going to Bethel to worship the God who answered me in my distress. With deep emotion, Jacob repeated the story of his first visit to Bethel, when he left his father's tent, a lonely wanderer fleeing for his life, and how the Lord had appeared to him in the night vision. As he reviewed the wonderful dealings of God with him, his own heart was softened. His children also were touched by a subduing power. He had taken the most effectual way to prepare them to join in the worship of God when they should arrive at Bethel. And they gave to Jacob all the idols. At Bethel, God appears to Jacob again. Your name is Israel. Be fruitful and multiply. The land I promised to Abraham and Isaac, I now give to you and your descendants. As they travel from Bethel, Rachel goes into labor near Ephrath. This is a son of my sorrow. Rachel names him Ben-Oni, but Jacob calls him Benjamin. Rachel dies and is buried near Bethlehem. Then Jacob sets up a pillar at her grave. Isaac dies at the age of 180. Jacob and Esau bury their father in Hebron, in the cave of Machpelah. Jacob's experience during that night of wrestling and anguish represents the trial through which the people of God must pass just before Christ's second coming. The prophet Jeremiah, in holy vision, looking down to this time, said, "We have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. All faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it.